Okay, welcome back to Lenz's Comic Corner, classic lesson known classics. This is episode number 1996 and Doubleshot number 1890. I have roughly two Marvel trades from two different franchises. First up is from the X-Men franchise. And this basically is a revival of an old series that came out in the 2000s. When I initially read the series, I was not a fan of the artwork. Of course, the artwork is done by Mike Aldred, and of course, the coloring is done by his wife, Laura Aldred. This, of course, is the X-Cellent. The X-Cellent is a revival of the classic X-Statix series. That's pretty much what this is. It's a revival of that series. Now, if you don't know what the heck X-Statix is, they made the first appearance back in, I believe it was the first find for X-Force back, I think it was like in 2001, I believe it was, where they debuted in issue 16. And they were there till, actually it was issue 17. It was actually issue 117. And they were there until 119. And this series was canceled and then replaced with X-Statix. And this lasted for 2 years. Lasted for 26 issues. And of course, I was, at the time, not really a big fan of the artwork. Over time, I have basically gone over my dislike of Mike Aldred's art. I thought he was one of the worst arcs I've ever seen. But over time, I've gotten used to it, and I've actually enjoyed his artwork. And now here's a little fun fact for you about Mike Aldred and the writer of this book, Peter Milligan. These are the guys who practically created this team. Yes, the team is comprised of people like Dead Girl, who was actually this one right here. Also Zombist. Yeah, this has a weird lineup. Now, here's the thing. The only character associated with this group that was still around even after the series ended was Dupe. Yes, pretty much all the members of the team were pretty much killed except for Dupe and a couple others back in the final issues of the series, which was issue 26. They get some bomb that went off and basically killed off pretty much the whole team except for Dupe. Dupe himself pretty much became a recurring character in X-Men comics from that point onward. And I think that bringing back the series called this actually was a pretty neat idea. Why it's called the X-Cellent doesn't make much sense. Probably because a name like X-Statix probably wouldn't sell very well nowadays. It was good back in the 2000s, but not today. Now you might be asking, Nick, when was the first time you remember reading the original X-Statix book? I think it was like in 2007, I think it was, around the late 2000s period. It was because basically at Marvel, I was getting into Spider-Man X-Men comics, and this actually was one of them. I like X-Force. I really do. Now, technically, when the team first showed up, they were originally called X-Force. But they had to change the name X-Statix due to in-universe legal issues. Out of universe, Marvel higher-ups didn't give a damn. They basically canceled the book because X-Statix was popular, and they didn't need to have the book called X-Force, so they relaunched it as X-Statix, which was 26 issues. This book contains the first 5 issues of the ongoing series, along with giant-sized X-Statix, which is for you know the classic team. Now, this trade here, this actually is a collection of the trade. Now, here's a little fun fact about the very first issue of the series. The cover itself is a clear homage to giant-sized X number 1. And you might be thinking, did they do that for... Now, here's a line for you. We have Zeldageist, Ugo Girl, of course, Dagger, obviously. The Anarchist, Dupe. You also got the Orphan. Yeah, this is pretty much the line. It's basically, in a way, this would describe this book. It's basically a new version of X-Statix meeting the original. And for some reason, Mike Aldred is called Doc in here. I'm not really sure why. Of course, do the original cover artwork. And here you go. This is Mike Aldred at his finest. This is actually one of 2 books Mike Aldred has ever been known for in his career. The other, of course, I believe is a book called Madman. Yeah, a character he created by himself. Of course, he also worked in the series known as, I believe it was The Forger. For the Young Animal imprint. Is basically aka The Bug. This was a character from Jack Kirby's line of books. And this was a 6-issue limited series done by Mike Aldred. Of course, Mike Aldred is also responsible for giving us iZombie. Yes, he basically drew the book. He didn't write it. He just drew the book. So technically, You gotta thank him. He also did, get this, he did some credit sequences for iZombie. I watched the first few seasons of the show. And every time we came back from credits, he basically did the artwork for it, which that's basically neat on his part. Yeah, so basically, in a way, this is just the reunion of the classic team. I say classic team despite the fact that this book came out roughly, I think it was last year, I think it was. Excuse me. Now you might be thinking, did the first issue come out on the 20th anniversary of the original comic? No. X-Statix came out in 2019. Last year was 20th anniversary of the title. Now, mostly, but the best way to also describe X-Statix is that they're a group of mutant celebrities. That's what these characters are. Mm-hmm. Of course, there's some fourth wall breaking. There's also a miniseries that came out right after the series concluded called X-Statix Presents Dead Girl, which implied that where she was in a relationship with Doctor Strange, of all people. Yes, seriously. So, with the Giants' X-Statix, it simply put the characters reestablishing themselves, after almost 20 years being inactive. Mm-hmm. And of course, in case you're curious, though, now the series also occasionally have fourth wall breaking moments. Now you might be curious though, why the heck did Marvel decide to bring back X-Statix? Now, despite the X books currently still being involved with the Krakatoa stuff, does X-Statix do anything with Krakatoa? No, not really. It has nothing to do with Krakatoa. Yeah, that's the interesting thing when it comes to X-Statix. Excuse me, yes. Well, as well as X-Statix X. And okay, it was called the Boys R Us Massacre. Yeah, so the originally was basically the original Anarchist, Bloke, Dead Girl, Dupe, El Galpto, Hendra Hunter, Mysterious Fanboy, Orphan Platt, Santana, Spike. Now, you might be thinking, is this character based upon the character of X-Evolution? Yes. Mostly he is. Except they basically just reincarnated him as basically Storm's son. Yeah, they basically use his character. Hugo Girl, Venus de Malo, Vescover is also Coach. He got actually killed off at the end of the series. Yeah, a new team basically brought about 7 people. Yeah. Yeah, but this basically is a good start for this particular series. Now, you might be curious, though, is the X-Cellent still being published by Marvel? I don't remember if, in fact, they actually continue publishing this series. Excuse me. Let's take a look here. I don't think the series is being published anymore. No, just a quick 5-ish limited series, and that was it. Excuse me, yes. Of course, X-Statix is basically just, the X-Statix team. Excuse me. Yeah, they mostly just exist in this book. But the thing is, they're based out of Death Valley, so basically this book has, like I said, nothing to do with this book has nothing to do with Krakatoa. Nope, it's just a side limited series that they just basically decided to just bring back for reason. They decided to launch this book, and just a quick limited series, and that was it. Yeah, didn't last very long. It was only 5 issues. I think it was canceled probably due to low sales. Well, here's the thing. Last issue came out roughly back in July. But the thing is, it's unknown if this series actually included or not. But it's not a terrible series per se. If you're a fan of the original X-Statix series, I would recommend checking this out. Me, I wasn't really a big fan of the group, but I do appreciate Mike Aldridge's artwork, and I'm a fan of Peter Mulligan's writing as well. I'm going to give this book roughly a 9 out of 10. Next up, basically, we're going to Star Wars, from an era that has gotten mixed reception. It's the current stuff. Yeah, this is part of the Age. This is part of the Star Wars Heroes Villain series of one-shots. Each era's got their own basically line. This one's the Age of Resistance, which all the one-shots here are done by Tom Taylor. Excuse me. Yep, here it is. Now, this book contains Age of Resistance one-shots. Finn, Poe, Dameron, Rey, Rose Nakano, and the Age of Resistance special. Yes, Tom Taylor himself does do the writing. He basically does the main book per se, the special, and he does all the main one-shot of the special. He's actually one of the 3 writers in the book, along with G. Wilson and Chris Epicos. Mostly put, basically, this is kind of what some of the characters are up to prior to events of Force Awakens. We see Finn, where he's still a member of sort of Stormtrooper, and he does the whole mopping thing, and he just basically shows some respect to. He doesn't know how the whole be properly, let's say, in position for me and Kylo Ren. He's being respectful to him. Despite he does notice though that the mop is dripping on his shoulder, which is not exactly very good. Yeah, so we have Captain Phasma because, of course. Yeah. And we do see something about Captain Phasma, basically just a Stormtrooper mission. That's most of what it is. He goes on a mission, and this kind of, in a way, does kind of explain a little adventure that Finn was up to prior to events of Force Awakens. Yeah, and also, he was chastised for removing his helmet movie. Yeah, and of course, someone said, FN218, who gave you permission to remove your helmet? Now, in the case of Poe Dameron, now you might be thinking, there already was a series that explained what the heck he was up to prior to events of the movie. Yes, it's the Poe Dameron comic book by Charles Scholl, which is excellent, by the way. And basically, the first 25 issues kind of explain what the heck he was up to. This book, you could say this one-shot in a way is, when you read this book, it's kind of a prequel to the events of the Poe Dameron ongoing series. That's most of what this book is. It's a prequel. It basically sets up the events of the ongoing series. Yes. That's the best way to describe it. It's really good, and it's a really good one. Tom Taylor does an excellent job. And of course, we also appearance by people who don't like Last Jedi, they pointed this character as one of the most not warlike characters in the history of Star Wars. Vice Admiral Holdo, played by an actress from the Jurassic Park movies. Yes, and for some reason, her hair is pink. Yeah, to my knowledge, there's no reason for this at all. Some say her hair is pink because she's an extreme feminist. Yeah. Now, I have no problem with the actress who played her in Last Jedi. I have no problem at all. She was so arrogant. A lot of characters were completely out of character in that movie. She was probably one character who was probably the most hated character in the movie. Rose Nakano. This kind of, in a way, was reading this book. It's basically how it's set before Advance of Force Awakens, because Last Jedi picks up right after the events of basically Force Awakens. So basically, this one shot is set before the events of Force Awakens. Basically, a tale of Rose and her sister on her home planet before they get recruited to the Resistance, and they meet up with General Organa, former Princess Leia, former Princess Organa. Rey. This book pretty much just the best way to describe this book. I mean, the thing does start off like with the flashback to kind of basically when we started before well before the events of the movie. And we have her. This is kind of the way this is set. Like we're basically setting it like just like during. Basically, the rest of this one shot is set during events in the movie. Like I would say, you could say this particular one shot is set between the moment she left the Plan Resistance is headquartered up until the end of the movie. That's kind of what this book does basically explain. Like a little adventure she went on prior to meeting with Luke Skywalker. And you might be curious though, does it end with her meeting Luke Skywalker? Yes, it does. Now, introducing specialists most focus on Hondo. Excuse me, mostly. Yeah, first we start with an adventure with, well, Maz when she's traveled with Han briefly. Yeah, this is mostly how she met Han for the first time. That's basically, and then we have a story where we have something with Hondo, kind of explain her backstory a bit. She's not that interesting of a character. Which, one of the reasons why people don't like her, because prior to events of The Last Jedi, nobody ever heard of her before. No, seriously. This character was completely made up for the movie, and they claimed this one was an old friend of Princess Leia's. And they kind of explained her in the Princess Leia book, where she popped up there. And that's kind of how they first met when they remember the Descendant when they're very young. So that kind of explains how they met. But that's thanks to recent stuff that basically explains. I believe the book came out. I know the Princess book is done by Claudia Gray, who is a really good writer, by the way. I read basically her first book, basically, that does explain. If you're curious about the Star Destroyer that appeared on Jakku, that appeared in the movie, that book explains the actual battle that led to that Star Destroyer basically beyond the surface of Jakku, known as the Battle of Jakku, which was in that book and Aftermath considered the final battle of the Galactic Civil War. Now, in the original EU, it was actually something else. It was basically a peace treaty that was signed, like, kind of in a way the day after the event of Endor. That was basically the original EU. It was original EU, where Endor was basically the end of the war, or was over. In the case of the current Disney continuity, that was not the case. The war went on for not that much longer, per se. I'd say a period. Now, in the case of the first book of Aftermath, which... Now, here's the thing about Aftermath. What's the way to tell is of that book, I didn't recognize anybody in that book, per se. And that book pretty much picked up like 1 month after of Return of the Jedi. The best book, now, the same book I read at the time was Shattered Empire, which was really good. And I kind of wish it was not a limited series. I kind of wish it was ongoing because it was really good. I was enjoying the book was coming out. And the book just abruptly ends the 4 issues. Aftermath was basically something that Disney was pushing heavily. And the Battle of Jakku also took place in the final book of that trilogy. And that's where I think it was Mon Mothma basically made a proposal that we have to end the war. And if you don't, basically you're committing treason. That's kind of what she was implying in the book. And now you might be curious though. Does Hondo appear in the Aftermath trilogy? Nope. She does not. She does not appear in that trilogy at all. Her only appearance, chronologically, before the events of The Last Jedi, was this one shot and the Princess Leia book by Claudia Gray. That's it. This other story is just basically Poe, kind of in a way another mission prior to the events of Force Awakens. Talk about droids, and that's it. The one shots here are pretty good. Nothing really terrible per se. I mean, yes, it's so obvious that the Poe Dameron one shot is the best one. I would say just behind that is, I would say just the same level. That one shot I really enjoyed reading was the Rose Takano one shot. That was really good. I loved it. Rey's Good one shot. Nothing. No, like the one shots featuring the 4 characters in the cover. Those one shots are awesome. I loved every one of them. The special is one thing that kind of hurts the book per se, is because focus on Hondo, a character who is not well liked, and some people wish that basically that Poe should take command of the Resistance while Leia was in a coma, instead of a woman that, according to moviegoers, they had never heard of before. I'm gonna give this book a 9 out of 10. It is pretty good. I definitely do say that the one with Han and Maz, basically, it was a good story, set before events Force Awakens. Excuse me, just kind of explain how Maz and Han Solo, because they're all friends. Yeah, and in fact, there's a joke about her. She's really short. One thing I do remember about the casting of the actress who plays in the movies is that the casting have received some flack as they cast a beautiful woman to play this very short alien. No, seriously. That was the flack that Forrest Wickens got when they cast the actress. Is that she's a very beautiful woman, and they have her basically do motion capture. That's basically the criticism. You have now, I've seen a picture of the actress who basically kind of plays Maz Kanata in basically the sequel trilogy. She is definitely a woman. I don't deny that. And do I agree with the criticism that she should not have been doing this? She should have done something else, like another character. She plays some character you see on screen, not some motion capture character. Yes, I do kind of agree with that. But Maz is a great character, what she is, and the books basically do a great job with her. Yeah, I appreciate that Tom Taylor did an excellent job writing her, per se. Yes, whenever she appeared, it's always awesome. Yep. So yeah, that's the episode review. Next up is Spy X Family. I'm going to try to get done the episodes that came out, that basically the next episode come out tomorrow. That'll be next, and then after that, excuse me, I do have a couple more comic corners left. You might be interested, basically, what will be my 2000 episode. That's coming really soon. I have roughly about 3 more comic corners, so I'm basically, once I get this video up, I'm going straight to do Spy X Family, okay? Next video. Bye.